scary thing is you're hosting the show. JP left.
I know it's gonna turn all types of tipsy turvy. It's like this. When I moved in my neighborhood, they said, "Oh, there goes the neighborhood." But we're back with Old School. I am blessed to be here with Dan Whitney and Boyd Epley. Old School Show is sponsored by the Mercado, the certified Piedmontese beef, and plenty of cuts down there on 84th and Havelock. But now I get to be in the the captain's seat to ask Boyd some questions. I know, look, Boyd, from one of the best things that ever happened to me. I was from Minnesota, and I was a red shirt. Boyd was in the locker room, and he kind of told me just a quick little Cliff Notes story of how he became the weight coach.
Right.
So he's seen a lot of great stories, football players. I have my opinion from watching Pittsburgh, and I don't know if you watched Pittsburgh, West Virginia, Purdue, and Penn State. Last night I was actually more impressed by the physicality that they played with. They looked like some good athletes out there. What do you think the biggest difference is, obviously, from, say, when we train to now? Or is there a difference?
Well, I think the problem is everybody's training hard like we did back in the day. And they have beautiful facilities. Northwestern has one of the most impressive facilities in the country. One wall is all glass overlooking Lake Michigan.
Yeah.
And they can see Chicago.
Sure.
But we're in the process of building even a bigger one, a nicer one in Lincoln right now.
Right.
About a year away.
Right. That's great, but it's all, Dan, it's like this, having a great stage. But if you don't put the stage doesn't make Dan makes the stage.
Absolutely.
Right? I think you got to put the work in.
Absolutely. They can have the best facilities in the world, still go 3-9, right? That's what Northwestern went last year, 3-9. Here's a cool thing I like about Boyd. His name's Boyd, and he's a genius. He's a genius.
Yeah.
The way they did. An old-time genius. And that's odd, name Boyd, because you never in life, no one has ever said, man, I cannot figure out these algebra problems. Somebody get Boyd.
I'll tell you what, Boyd,
he's an anomaly.
Yeah, when I got to the NFL, we had a pretty well-known weight coach named Rusty Jones. And he kind of was like a little bit, ahead of his time because he trained to play the up-tempo offense. They had the K-gun with Jim Kelly and all them.
Right.
They always fizzled out the Super Bowl, but they did that. He had the utmost respect for Boyd, and he picked so much stuff from you. Just talk about how you started and then adjusted and then readjusted with the times. And if there's what would you, if they could say, hey, Boyd, put you in there, how would you do things and how would it be different, your approach as far as how you're getting the team ready for the season?
When I started, there wasn't a lot to look at and learn from. We had weightlifters that lifted in competition. And then there were power lifters, which is a different type of lifting.
Right.
And then there were bodybuilders. But there wasn't anybody there wasn't anybody doing what we consider strength training.
Right.
So I was trying to help the athletes. So I picked what I thought was important from each of those three areas and had the football players doing it. And it just happened to improve their speed because Coach Devaney told me when he hired me, if anyone gets slower, you're
gone. You're right. Yeah, that's a lot of pressure.
And so I didn't forget that.
Yeah.
And so we went and borrowed a stopwatch from the PE department, started timing everybody. And we showed him how players, like Mike Barron, for example, improved 0.6 of a second. He ran a 5.540. He dropped down to 4.9 after gaining 50 pounds.
Ooh.
No one had ever done anything like that before. So
right.
It was kind of like, wow, what are we doing here? And along with it came some wins.
Right.
Well, it's amazing, though. Seriously, Boyd. I mean, you started it.
Yeah, you're the godfather.
You're the guy that did it. I mean, you look at all these programs across the country, Alabama, Florida, all these big programs. They replicated what you did. I think that is, seriously, Jay, that's unbelievable.
Well, it's unbelievable for me to be that guy. I mean,
yeah.
It really is. It's very humbling.
Oh, my God.
Boy, talk about, I remember after we beat the brakes off of Tennessee, talk about how much of it's, I guess you take it as an honor for Tennessee to come and copy what we did in the spring, and how you you know, how you go about it, because some coaches or some, you know, obviously would be like, no, I don't want to show you our secrets. Is that you just had so much confidence in what you were doing, you could let them try it, but they could never be as good as we were doing it?
Well, one of the reasons is I had a tremendous assistant named Mike Arthur. You know,
Yeah,
Mike.
yeah, I know Mike. Yep.
Mike was the brains of the outfit. I just got the credit for everything.
Yeah.
But we were always designing equipment to help the athletes be more explosive.
Right.
And the explosive part of it for powerlifting isn't there.
Right.
The bench press is slow.
Yeah.
The deadlift is even slower. The squat is a great exercise, but it's not explosive. It's slow. So we needed to add the power clean to that.
Right.
So we pulled this from here and this from there and put together what we now call strength training, and it worked.
Right.
So crazy. The do you get like still university programs and stuff going? Hey, somebody call Epley. See how do you still get a lot of people asking for advice on certain things?
There are. In fact, my wife and I are going to Australia November 2nd to give a little talk to those folks who have created a strength coaching organization over there. And but it's not just colleges. I'm going to do a Zoom call with a high school in Minnesota here next week. I mean, it's just anyone that wants some help, I'm willing to help them.
This is what I want to ask Boyd. I mean, I know me, I never touched the weight. Dan, here's what they did. I never touched the weight till I got here. And then I used to walk through the weight room. I told Coach, I was like, baby, this is natural. But then when I saw Christian Peter and them, I said, you know what? I got to start befriending Boyd. And Boyd, I work with a lot of high school kids. Give me 2 or 3 lifts that if you could reach out to a high school player that's trying to get, you know, bigger, faster, stronger, get better as an athlete, that they should focus on, especially playing football.
There's no better exercise than the squat. That's number one.
Right.
But like I said, it's not an explosive movement. It's usually done slow and heavy. And so it helps you through force against the ground.
Right.
When you run, you actually apply your force into the ground and it propels you across the ground.
Right.
So you got to have some strength in the legs to go fast. Then the hang clean or power clean is explosive. You put those two together, you don't really need much else.
Right.
Unless you want to look good, then you do bench press or you work your arms.
Right.
Maybe some shoulders. But the squat and the clean, that's the secret.
I'll tell you how he trains these people. This is how tough a lot of his people are. I had a buddy of mine whose dad passed away not long ago that went through the whole Boyd Epley training process. And this guy was so strong. They said at his funeral, he carried his own casket. I mean, that's how.
Yeah, left-handed.
Yeah.
That's how strong he made it.
Boy, who was the strongest? Who was the strongest pound for pound player ever to come through Nebraska?
Other than Jay.
I wasn't.
Well, there was a shot putter named Carl Meyerskopf that was 310 pounds. And he squatted 810.
Ooh.
He was pretty amazing.
Right.
A national champion shot putter for Nebraska. He was 6'10", weighed 310, squatted 810.
Wow.
Didn't Rulon Gardner go to
Rulon was kind of before all this wave happened.
Okay.
He did a little bit of lifting, mostly at the Olympic Training Center.
Right, okay.
Not so much with me, and but he had a tremendous career. And then he had a serious injury on a snowmobile or something that set him back.
Yeah, Rulon always plays in my golf tournament. And he's just like, and he'll just walk up to you and he'll literally take me with one hand. He'll wrap around me with one arm and throw me up over his shoulder. Yeah, I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah, he upset a very famous wrestler because the guy just opened his hand like that, and that was it. Rulon won.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Boy, what were I knew and didn't really realize in the NFL how I knew how important the weight coaches were, but how important it was they were in decision making to making the team. So when guys would come in, what were the benchmarks you look for in athletes? Like, oh yeah, he could develop into something, or he needs to get, we need to really work with him on X, Y, and Z. But what are the benchmarks you looked at when you would talk to Coach Osborne or any of the assistant coaches, because they would ask your opinion where somebody was at and where they were going? What are the benchmarks you kind of look for?
Well, with Mike Arthur's help and Dr. Chris Eskridge, we developed an index that helps evaluate what you're looking for.
Right.
And there's several tests that you can measure. But the vertical jump by itself, if you just took this crowd right here
Right.
and asked them to do a vertical jump, the one that has the highest vertical jump is your athlete.
Right. There you go, Dan. That's you.
But then you got
Absolutely. My record still has yet to be broken with the vertical.
But you also got to look at what they weigh.
Right.
I mean, if a kid only weighs 100 pounds, he's not going to stand up to the
rigors
of the sport. And so you're looking first at that vertical jump, and that's for baseball, basketball, any power sport. And you're really great athletes. Curtis Cotton had a 41-inch vertical jump. Guess who? The athletic director at Nebraska, Trev Alberts, 40-inch vertical jump.
Wow.
Wow.
A 6'4", right?
Yeah.
How about hot dog eating? Would that be considered
Well, it depends on how many you eat.
impact sport? You know, my mother-in-law ate. She won a contest. She ate 42 hot dogs in 11 minutes. Can you believe that? My mother-in-law not talking for 11 minutes.
Right? Keep eating, right? That's what you say. Keep eating. Depends on the holiday, right, Dan? Right?
Yeah, that's right.
Every holiday is hot dog eating holiday.
That's one way to shut her up, huh?
Yeah. Boy, what are your
She talked a lot. She was the only woman to the beach with a sunburn on her tongue. Seriously, it was crazy.
Boy, what are your expectations tomorrow?
Well, I hope to see the offensive line come out off the line. Fourth quarter, we didn't see that, and we missed that.
Right.
That's why you don't gain rushing yards when the offensive line doesn't pave the way. And I'm hoping they do better.
Right.
And then I think they'll get their confidence. I thought Larry explained it really well earlier on his summation that we're not as bad as we think we are.
Oh, no.
No,
I think the hardest thing for me, and this is even last year, or this has been the way Nebraska's been for a while, is like I always say, like, it's like a prize fighter. I remember watching Marvin Hagler go against Sugar Ray, and he would kind of like always tap himself in the forehead to get ready to fight. Nebraska, I think, over the years have just punched ourselves in the face, and we beat ourselves. That's the most frustrating thing. I think that I think the makeup of the team is pretty decent to where they'll be able to bounce back. I think what they have to do, and Dan talked about it, and I always felt like, at least for me, I can't speak. I felt like our confidence was forged in the hard work we did in the weight room. That gave me superior confidence on the football field. And anytime I ever struggled, like especially in the NFL, started right from the basics. Weight room, what I didn't do well, if I didn't feel quick, or if I felt like I wasn't very strong in the way I tackled, I'll say emphasize on squats and stuff like that. I think that if they understand that and go out there and play and stop worrying about all that other stuff, it'll become easier. And I told them last year, I said, I just want you guys to experience one time when you play a good team that you either weren't supposed to beat or it was a hard game, and you walk in or you're in the locker room and you guys are celebrating because you guys realize all the hard work you did. You don't even worry about it. If you're out here, I mean, I know it's Friday, but if you're out there, remember the practices we used to have, guys cramping up and all that other stuff? It was worth it when we won a national championship.
Right.
Well,
and is like I said earlier, just go out and play and don't be defeated when you first go out.
Right.
That not to have the attitude of, oh boy, I hope we don't lose today. Have the attitude of attacking it and go, we're going to win this game. I kind of equate it to like stand up because I was going through a time there. I was getting some, and it happens to a lot of entertainers because you try to always do better than your last time, but sometimes you get performance anxiety.
Right.
And I remember one time I was on stage and I just forgot where I was at. I couldn't remember anything. And I started freaking out. So then I just started pulling jokes out of my hind end. And, well, the crowd didn't know it. They just thought it was part of the show.
Right.
So, but I knew it. But from then I was gun shy of this. So I went on stage, not like I'm just going to go up and have this. I went on stage trying not to forget stuff.
Right.
So in the back of my mind, the whole show, I'm going, oh man, don't make sure when you do this joke, don't, because you make, and the crowd didn't know, but me myself, I did not. I didn't think I had a good show. I didn't think I performed well. But once I got over that, and I just put it behind me, I just went up and attacked the stage and didn't worry about any of these other things. Man, it got even better and better. But I think that's what they do. They just got to put all that behind them, go out, Have fun, play football,
Yeah.
and don't worry about losing.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you guys this. I took the mentality. I enjoyed the bigger games. So Dan, it'd be like you. I don't know, at the Orpheum or somewhere you perform. Right. I love the big games because I want your best. Because I felt like if I could beat you at your best, you could never beat me again. But I feel like the team should take the mentality, embrace their expectations, prove yourself right versus proving John whoever on Twitter wrong. Prove yourself right. Right? I mean, go if you really believe it, right? You believe that you're the best. You know that you believe that you're the best. Go out there and prove it, and then keep proving it. Versus like, oh, I proved somebody that you don't even know, or even really like a national writer. He doesn't know.
Right.
He just is going off what somebody else said, and he's just dicing it up a little bit. So if you prove yourself right and you embrace the expectations, then the only thing you're focusing on, if we're three linebackers, I'm the middle guy. I'm focusing on what we're doing. Right, every day, I want to make sure you guys are playing good and you guys are doing the same for me. That's how I think you should embrace it. Versus like, oh well, here comes this national. Here comes Desmond Howard that's never even watched Nebraska except for when he sees the highlights when we lose. Right. Versus we're worried about proving ourselves right, and then Desmond Howard's going to say whatever he's going to say because he's going to get followers after he says something bad.
Yeah, that's the thing. A lot of people know a lot about stuff they don't know about.
Right.
Well, I think we have 2 games here that are reasonable.
Right.
So we should, if everything goes well,
right,
regain our confidence with these these next 2 games, and that should set us up to be competitive with Oklahoma.
Yeah. I mean,
and if they look back to last year, we were right there.
Yeah.
Well, and I think, in all seriousness, if we played Northwestern at another time, a different venue, not across 9 hours across from where you live, with all the interference, it would be a way different game. I mean, we were the better team. We just
I mean, hey, look, that's the hard. People don't understand. That's the hardest thing about football. You only get 12 games. People always ask me like about their kid playing football. Like, do you love to practice? Because you're going to practice 95% of the time.
Yeah,
you're going to lift, you're going to run, and it's going to suck. I'm telling you. There was umpteen times I've been walking over to Abel Dorm, thinking about quitting, packing up my Chevy Celebrity and heading back up to Minneapolis. So if you don't like the practice, then you can't play football. So that's the hard thing about it because you only get 12 games. And so,
absolutely.
Look, that game's over. You can't go back and dig up a dead horse, and you just got to learn from it. I feel like if you embrace it, just say, you know what? There's times that somebody call you, how'd your show go? Like, man, I was crappy, right? But right, I wasn't my best, right?
Right.
But you can't go back and change it. The next time you're going to knock it out the park.
Boy, for the record, I never say that.
At least I do. I know when I used to play bad, my dad, I was like, man, I couldn't do tiddly poo out here.
Well, that's good. It made you better.
But I can tell you what, that next game, boys, whoever we were playing, we're in trouble.
Well, look, when you practice that much, you only got a little bit of time to play and have fun.
Yeah.
Go out and have fun. I mean, bust it. It's like you're in. It's like this show here. You got a couple hours.
Right, have fun with it.
I have thrown up 15 times doing this show.
That's right. Yeah. Well, that's just probably because I was cooking.
That's how much effort I put into this.
Yeah. Well, hey, look, in closing, I appreciate both you guys. Boyd, I'm telling you what, he took me from a skinny little so-called basketball player to somewhat of a NFL player. Dan, you've been really good to me and always really sweet to my kids. So I appreciate you guys being on. 2 Husker legends, obviously, in your own right.
Yeah.
One thing you don't know,
what?
both of us, I was born in Pawnee City. That's where he's from.
That's right. Boyd's from my hometown. Born there.
So that's where the juice. Well, that's where the superstar juice is then. So if we want a quarterback runner, we just need to go to Pawnee City.
It was me, Boyd, and the female Tarzan, whatever her name was, back in the 50s.
Hey, and Johnny Carson was from Norfolk. I didn't even know that either.
Yeah, well, he was born in Iowa.
Oh, well then that doesn't count.
Well, he lived in Nebraska long enough. We claim it.
Yeah,
we claim it. But Boyd and I were born here.
Yeah, so you guys get more credibility.
Absolutely. But Boyd truly is. I'll tell you what, Jay, I'm as excited as you are that Boyd. Boyd's a legend, man.
I'm telling you,
Husker legend.
Boyd, I'll tell you what, when I used to walk into different places, I was 4 years in Buffalo. It was like you had a badge of honor because they know you had been through the ringer at Nebraska. They knew you were ready to go and disciplined. I think part of Boyd and his crew, Mike Arthur and everybody else, had everybody so prepared. That's why you saw the success on the field, but also at the next level.
And don't look, Coach Osborne knows this.
Yeah.
I've told him I would not coach over to get to you. Just kidding, Coach.
Yeah.